accepts the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream.
Feel like I'm applying for insurance. Which bank gonna accept you?
Oh, your interest rate is 32%.
Facebook has accepted the stream.
I don't want it.
Okay, as soon as the timer starts, you're on the air, okay?
Okay.
Here you go.
So,
Yeah, so just in regards to the council having the ability to say yay or nay in removing a board is a very large issue. It just kind of speaks to the fact that if there's not something, I guess a greater plan or maybe a better option for citizens to interact, then we'll just consistently keep going through this pattern over and over again. And that's one of the things that we found after, we had the board disbanded. We attempted to do a ballot initiative, and slowly it fizzled away. And that's just based off of phone calls that are being made and asking other people to not participate. And, are you sure that would be the best option? Which, truth be told, yeah, residents should be able to look on a ballot and choose their peers and say, I agree with Mike Johnson at the end over there, and he would be a good choice to do police oversight because I've known him however long, and I know his history and other neighbors.
Mike Johnson.
Well, I'm just anybody, or like anyone, really,
anybody,
but just anyone. Truthfully,
anyone,
it's the
exactly.
ability. The main
Exactly.
idea, no matter the name, no matter the demographic, the idea is that there's transparency and it's a 100% legal process that people can participate in.
right.
And the council, they don't make a way for that to happen.
Right.
They're always going to placate and make sure that they cushion whomever their associates are, and whatever rivals their opinion, they're just going to remove it, much like they did the board. So,
Well, yeah, that's a painful history and difficult. And
No,
Jerome,
the only thing, while we had technical difficulties going on, we discussed the whole idea that everything that she said ditto for what's going on with the current iteration of the Erie County Correction Specialty Advisory Board. These things, and I said this, systems, no system can protect people that it was never meant to protect. That, systems that are built for to just perpetuate themselves, they don't care about the people. They just care about the functionality of the system. It will churn out whatever, as long as it keeps going. And that's where we're at now. And that's why there is no desire for most of these people to have any oversight, because they want the status quo to remain. And that's what we're fighting against. Having an oversight body is important for so many reasons. It's just like, why do we not do it the right way? We stack these boards, it becomes politicized. I'm on a board now that's stacked with people who have a vested interest in not doing what the board's supposed to be doing. We got a sheriff's department who wants to play petulance like a kid. When you don't get your way, I'm going to take my ball and go away. And nobody's saying anything about that. And they write letters to the legislature saying, I don't want to play fair no more because there's infighting. The same thing they say about infighting. Infighting is me saying to you, why are you not, what's up with this death? And you telling me I can't talk about it, and somebody else say, well, they can't talk about it. You're on the board. You're supposed to want them to talk about it. That's the infighting, because you have your patsy there who's filibustering and doing everything else to be in the way.
wow.
We don't need that. If you want oversight, let the community choose the people. Don't have agencies like the sheriff's department, the polling cards, all these political people who give these positions to people for patronage reasons or otherwise, which they beholden to them. They're not beholden to the community. This is what they're on the board for. Not for themselves. I'm not on there for self-aggrandizement. I'm on there for the people. And I got to fight. Look, I got to fight this people to get some help for my people against the people who are doing the harm. Come on, what are we doing here?
Right.
So we need real advisory boards with teeth, subpoena power, investigatory power, the ability to lock somebody up and show them when you break I bet you, let me tell you this, half of this malfeasance would stop if the boards had accountability. Had teach, because they would be showing with an example or two, and everybody else would start to stand and get in line. That's what it would happen. But now when you got no examples, everybody feels a free fall and they can do what they want, and they continuing to do this. This police and sheriffs in this county here have some of the worst history and records in the country.
Right.
And we don't want to see what's going on. We don't want to oversight so that we're not number 3 in that, and the number 3 in police shootings, number 5 in this. Why don't we want to have a better society? Because, hey, the status quo is what they want. And that means us still going to jail, no accountability for the deaths, no accountability for the medical malfeasance, no accountability for anything, and we still pay you to do the job. I wouldn't have a job if I did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're so right. And Phylicia?
Yeah, for sure. And I think just off that last point that you made, Jerome, I think about running an organization and how much oversight there is, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many reports you got to do,
Right.
reporting to everybody all the time about what you're doing, the impact you're making, how many people you've served, all of these
For a
kinds
few
of
dollars,
things.
not
For
even
a
as
few
much.
dollars.
They got
That's right.
millions
That's
of
right.
dollars in
That's
their
right.
budget.
That's right.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something else we were talking about during our technical difficulty was the fact that oftentimes when these boards come as a result of elected officials' ideas or things that they want, then they also then have the power to disband them or to try to make them not be the powerful, right? Not be the powerful thing that they need to be, because they want to serve their interests, right? And so it is important that as we are thinking about both of these boards, that they are actually run by the citizens and also have citizens on the board, right? I think what we're seeing with the Erie County Specialist Advisory Board is, to all the things that Jerome said, a lot of infighting, but because you have people who don't have the same interests all in one place trying to do the work of protecting people. But if my interest is not to protect the people, then it actually doesn't matter whether or not we are on this board together at all, right?
So, and sort of what you said, actually, we had talked about this conflict of interest. So they have another interest other than
That's
the
right.
stated interest of protecting citizens from misconduct, from injustice, from malfeasance, or from any of it, that is wrongdoing on the part of the people with the power.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think we also have to be honest. Right? We talk about truth telling. We have to be honest. And you
Right.
lifted this up as well, that like these systems that are operating in this way are operating in this way because that is how they are designed. Right? And so if we are thinking about what true citizens oversight is, we have to be thinking outside of the system that currently exists, right? Because otherwise we just entrench ourselves in something that is designed not to protect us, that is designed to hunt us, to harm us, to kill us, to lock us up, right? To do harm to our communities. And so if we're thinking about oversight, then we have to be thinking about what are the ways outside of this system that we can have oversight of our folks, and how do we get those measures to have teeth, right? Yeah.
So you're making me think of some of the other shows that we've done or issues that stand about other alternative ways of doing these things that will work better than what we have now. And that consistently comes up with when we talk about community now, and the Black Lives Resist and the rest has been active on this. The Community Responders Program, which we've done a show on at least once, or probably more than once, and how much better that works to have mental health people, social workers and other mental health professionals, as well as health professionals, as well as peers, to be the ones to respond to low-level calls, not the police. That's better for the citizens and it's better for the police. So there are structures that could be in place that would also take the pressure off and just reimagine safety in our society. You know, because the other thing is when they say, and I know you want to talk a little bit about the jails, when we talk about whether we need a new jail or what we need, when even the sheriff says more than half of the people have mental health problems and the substance abuse problems, and we have the number of deaths that we have the amount of addictions and mental health problems that we have in the jail, what is going to serve to alleviate to improve the situation for the people and for the community.
We just said this is why you need those boards, because what they're
Right.
saying is that we've criminalized mental health in this country. We've criminalized mental health.
Right.
So you lock somebody up for being mentally ill, not because they're criminal, because they're mentally ill, and then
Right.
you treat them like trash because they're mental ill.
right.
But that's that's the system that's set up. Why
And
should
of
I have
course-
to? You have a sheriff that says, oh, we need this jail because we need a mental health facility, a state-of-the-art mental facility, and a state-of-the-art substance abuse facility on the jail
Right,
grounds.
right.
Instead of saying we need to increase the beds for mental health in the community
And put the people in the mental-
right,
Yes.
because the system is geared towards what they're doing, building
Right.
these jails and filling them. You got a jail. You can't even get 1,500 people in the jails now for the last 5-6 years, but they want a 1,500 bed facility. Because they know they got to fill that. And how you going to do that? By doing all the things that an oversight committee would say it is unnecessary for us to be doing that.
Right.
Go ahead. No, because I just wanted to make one thing clear, because what happens in this when we talk about this, it's they try to make it an us against them thing. It's right against wrong. It's not us against them. I have officers in those facilities, officers who work, who are family and friends. I know their integrity. I know their heart. But they got colleagues that I know that they ain't right, and they know they ain't right. That's who I'm targeting. I'm not targeting the institution. Listen, I'm not hating the player. I'm hating the game. And the game's got to stop being played what they playing right now.
Yeah. And I think to what you were lifting up about the jails, right? Even thinking about the fact that, and tell me if we're not talking about this tonight, but thinking about the fact
No, we're
that
okay.
we have this feasibility study and needs assessment
Yes.
that is supposed to be determining whether or not Erie County needs a new jail, right?
Yes.
Which
Needs
folks
assessment.
like us, we were the ones
Right.
that got that in place. It was us that went to the legislature and said, y'all need to put this needs assessment and feasibility study in place. And so they did it, gave the contract to environmental engineering firm, right? And then that needs assessment and feasibility study is even evading the Erie County Specialist Advisory Board.
They
So what's the
refused
point
to
of the
have us-
board then?
No teeth.
I've
one.
got to say, actually, having been part of that, I want to say it just reminds me of one of my favorite things, which is Jerome as my anger translator. I wrote a letter to the board to the legislature
Yeah, I know.
on that topic, and you read it to the legislature. So I wish anybody who has a tape of that, please send it to me. 'Cause
Yeah,
I would just
so how
love to see
became your
that.
anger? I said in my introduction that the words were yours, but the vitriol was entirely my own.
Yeah.
And the delivery. But the thing is, it was for a feasibility. It was for a needs assessment,
That's
not
right.
the feasibility study. They snuck that in there. They had agreed that it would be a needs assessment, and that means what does the community need?
But
So,
some of
and
this-
that's where the mental health question comes up, the substance abuse questions comes up, not about criminality and not making it a carceral system. So I'd like us to just move, and which we've sort of been doing a little bit, about what's happening now. And I'd like to sort of scoot into what's happening now and what needs to happen. So if we'll go around like this again. And if you need to leave, Phylicia, do you?
Yes. I'm
Yes.
going to head out.
Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're so grateful to have you here.
Thank
She'll
So
be
you.
we're gonna
back. She'll
keep
be
right
back.
on.
She'll be back.
Yeah, we'll have you on again because
No new
Yeah.
jails.
Yeah, there's lots to. No new jails. Amen. I mean, Ashe.
jail.
Yeah. Okay, so Ashley, what would you say about what the situation is now and where it needs to go? Thanks.
I would say, as far as the situation right now, there's no situation, and I can confidently tell you, as a person who runs a nonprofit, and I don't think I run it as well as some other people do. I don't think it necessarily comes with the greatest handbook. I think I had amazing intentions to want to keep this conversation going. What's very difficult, and maybe you can attest to this, it's trying to find trustworthy people that you can partner with to have these very serious conversations
Right.
that the arm of government cannot reach them at. That's one of the biggest problems that we have, because it's this person knows this person, can make a phone call to this person. Well, doesn't your kid need to go to school over here? Don't you need help with this? And, well, I don't know if I could help you with this if you're going to keep letting so-and-so talk about that. And I thought that was just farcical talk.
Really?
Until I got on the police advisory board and I saw it in real time from people who were on school boards, from people who were physicians, people who were in the mental health field, people who knew above all else better. They knew better than to let government in their ear. They knew to come to the table and be transparent. And I think one of the things that's going to be very difficult for Buffalo, because Buffalo is ran in silos, and I've always maintained this once I got into the arena of really seeing how we handle complaints privately, because truthfully, we can say it's public, but how we choose to conduct ourselves as the board and have the conversations, that's private to a degree when you're debating and going back and forth. Ultimate decisions that you come to, sure, those are public, but that discourse, that why are you choosing this, and I know you better than this, and doesn't your job require you to think a little bit more appropriately? Those are the questions that the residents don't really get to see us go through. So a lot of times there's this disconnect on, like, are they really doing what we're asking them to do? And why can't they come to a decision? Why is there discourse? And I think the only real way to circumnavigate any of that is to make it a decision that's placed in the hand of the voter. And
Of
the
voter,
resident,
yeah.
the voter, the resident.
The-
So
right.
residents
Ballot
should
initiatives.
vote
right.
for whom they want on these advisory boards. And through the voting process being truly transparent, I think then we should see a level of accountability that has teeth enacted within that.
Right.
And I know that personally the Attorney General's been looking for Buffalo to have a honest and serious conversation about accountability and something with teeth for quite some time. And I've even seen this conversation morph in such a way that it's been my colleagues on the board who have privately turned around and written the Attorney General, knowing that they were sitting amongst the peers and it could have just been a transparent conversation.
So these are the people who are on the current council appointed board.
Yes, some
Right.
are on the current council appointed board. Others have dispersed who were on previous police advisory board to work for council behind the scenes.
Uh-huh.
So this is one of the problems we have, right? It's like, how far does that governmental arm reach and how deep is it going? Is it going to the nonprofit directors? Because I've worked with a couple nonprofit executives, and I can tell you the discernment that you would expect is not there.
That's right.
And that is not to speak to, Phylicia being here, lovely, Black Lives Resisting the Rust, wonderful organization. They're
Black
outstanding.
Lives.
They do not. Many are not like that, you know. And
Most
I'm
are not.
right. And I'm a baby organization, and I can say that because I'm looking for mentorship myself when I look at these things, and I see that oftentimes what's very scary for me is, where are residents supposed to go that they can trust? Because when I'm trying to build myself up as a trusted space, people look at the things that I've touched and that have been attached to me, and they say, can I trust her? When I get to showing citizens, like, okay, you can look at me this way, and they ask me, why don't you bring other people with you? I said, well, who can I bring with me if they've been a part of this scenario and didn't get justice for a person, or they've been at this board and they voted against what was right for another? I mean, it really halts you from going forward and trying to create an environment that helps people, because we can't keep harming people in the process of trying to create this usable system. whether it be a nonprofit, whether it be another board, whether it just be whatever. Because
Right.
we're abusing people in the process. We're losing pieces of the story, and we're not resolving anything.
Right.
We're inflating egos. We're feeling good for a short amount of time, but then we're not doing anything that provides longevity for the community, and that's a problem. And me, as the person in the position I'm in, I can't even tell you how we resolve that. And that's just
So-
honest.
No, but and that's I really appreciate your honesty. Candor is good, and that's what we lack right now from leadership, whether it be local, state. The integrity is not there. Why we talking about this, and I think we've been remiss to start. The point is, these boards are called into being because problems exist. No legislator said, you know what, I want to have a board to watch something that's already running well. Nobody does that.
Right.
These boards were constituted because there were serious problems that needed oversight. Those problems didn't disappear because you created the board.
Right.
They're only going to disappear when you create a board that's diverse, that's invested, that has integrity, that's not there for self-aggrandizement or to toe the company line. And the
Right.
only way you're going to get that is having the community involved on that level. Having polling cards office, pick somebody to come to be on the board. Who most of the times I'm not, and I'm using that name, so I don't want it to be misconstrued. I'm not saying they
we're
send
not
anybody, right? I'm not talking about him, but I'm just saying so
Specific.
anybody to nominate somebody to come to the board without telling them what the board is for, what they should be doing, and all of that. This is what we get. We get people who say, they just told me they wanted me to come. They told you nothing else, so they don't even know if you're a good candidate. If they didn't tell you this is what you're going to be up against, how do you feel about? Tell you anything other than there's a position from our organization on this thing. I want you to get on there, or they give it to somebody because, like you said, you're patron this thing, or they retired and they want to still do something. Why are we handing these things off to people who don't live in the community, who don't experience what the community is going through? That's like what we've had for years with the NFTA here. Not a single person who made a decision ever took the train or the bus.
Right.
How could you
Exactly.
make an effective decision and
Exactly.
you don't know the experience?
Right. And so this is where you're so right about. Now, it is the Citizens Specialist Advisory Board, and maybe that is also part of the problem because they say specialist, but so that implies it's somebody who's working in that area. And so maybe, it's back to conflict of interest, or I want to say is it our own story? Is it our own issue? Is it our own problem? So that people who are part of the community that is on the receiving end of being what do I want to say? Caught up in the system, not working for the system.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yes.
That is one of the differences that has to be, and you might say back to, we said, diverse perspective. Okay, diverse perspective. But the big perspective is of the people who are experiencing and seeing the problems, not the ones who are just excusing the problems. Because the reason, as you said, the reason for having these boards is because of the problem. So I like us to sort of switch over into what can people do to help, and/or, I don't want to say this because we were just talking about this earlier, Ashley, how do we get other people interested too? So it's how do people who are interested get involved, and how do we get people to understand how important this is? And I want to say one thing that did not come up is when we talk about the jails, for example, and the Corrections Advisory Board, people are dying. We have one of the highest death rates in the country in our holding center and our correctional facility. In the policing, we have not had a police advisory board with teeth, or that has community people in it to make those decisions. And we've had some serious problems and that have continued. So let's go into how can people help and how do we get people to be more involved. on both those questions.
So I think one of the ways that you can help is always by storytelling. So storytelling is direct data. It allows you to know exactly what's going on with the situation. Now, when we're storytelling, we have to go to spaces that are safe, that we're inherently going to be able to tell our story and do it with trusted people. One of the big things we have a habit of doing here in Buffalo that we never follow through on is vetting the people that we share the information with. We assume because we've heard, oh, this person goes to church with this person, or this person is a teacher over here, they're solid. You don't question it. Whereas I come from a military background. I'm a former military spouse, and you know, my family's service member legacy includes military intelligence. And so one of the things you don't ever do is like you could break bread with people, but you need to be mindful of the conversations and things that you're having.
Right.
And I think one time, you know, what I generally see when I enter into these spaces, like I did with the police advisory board, I wasn't like a 4-year graduate. I don't have an associate's degree. I have a high school education, okay? And I have a background of being a military spouse. I have lived all over the country, had a variety of jobs. I've worked directly with people and raised a lot of kids. That was my qualifications, and they picked me for the police advisory board. But one thing that I felt that just was very insulting when I was there was like I could bring up a point and it was viable, right? But then everyone would pair their accolades against you. So then all of a sudden the point that you brought up was no longer viable, and it wasn't as good.
Wait, what do you mean?
If someone who, let's say they were a Canisius grad and they worked in the Buffalo public school system, let's say they work in IT, and that's pretty good. Let's just say they do that. And they have opinions about how something should be ran on the board, but I give my opinion. They will say, good job for giving your opinion, Ashley, but they will never fully take my recommendation. Because as the board is stacked, they'll look at me and go, well, it's good that she's here, but she doesn't have the same accolades as us, so does she know what she's talking about? But at the same time, I'm in the pool of residents that are everyday people, right? Like people that may not have gone to college, people who have the same life experience as I have. So
Right.
how would my storytelling ability be any less valid than someone who went to college? That's the great question. So when you get on these boards, the government will utilize different people to try to deter conversations or points being brought up. And I think a way that we can just totally go around that is to introduce a straight ballot initiative. I think that would work, especially even with the Erie County Sheriff's Department, that level of oversight. Getting people actively involved where we're educating them. Maybe we're doing this in town halls. Maybe they're happening frequently. I mean, I tried to do a town hall to the point of inviting people in a barbecue format so we could all come together. 3 people showed up. 2 recorded me and 1 sat there and asked me questions. So, you know, this is the thing about trying to run these boards. It's always people trying to get information, but not people trying to help people.
Yeah.
So the one way to get over that is to truly get people out and active and perhaps get a successful ballot initiative going where it can get the voters excited and they can see that they can have choice in what oversight would be. And if it is truly an amalgamation of all of your peers, if it can truly be pulling everyone from every section, then there should be no problem with providing oversight to those parties, because it is a general mixture of all of the residents of the city of Buffalo casted by votes, and those people that were voted in would be trusted with that responsibility to assist with oversight.
Right.
And if I'm the legislators in Buffalo, I would get on top of this immediately, and I wouldn't waste a lot of time, because Letitia James is looking at us like we should have had something in place to assist these residents a long time ago.
I agree. I will say this. I will not debate you on this issue, but I will say my problem with ballot initiatives is that our people so disenfranchised from voting and understanding the process that we could get outvoted because we don't show up to support what we need. And I've seen this with things like, you know, the cameras, they come out, they fight after they got the tickets. We should have jumped on that immediately, but because people don't know, and until it hit them personally, they don't get involved. That's my only issue with it.
Right.
I think the ballot initiative is good, but you got to have a savvy populace to do that, because if people don't understand it, don't engage in it, then it doesn't work. And that's my only issue with that. I think that what we need here is, like they have in the city, public advocate's office, an ombudsman, somebody who the people elect because they vetted them, know that he or she is gonna put in that work because they stand on principle, they have some integrity, they have a track record in the community of advocating and fighting for these things for people. So that person now gets a staff, gets all these other amenities that they could use that a little nonprofit doesn't have and won't be able to use. They have a bully pulpit. They can go and grab a mic and get the news there. Like me and you try to get the news there, we got to beg, borrow, and steal. But if I'm the public advocate and I'm making an announcement, they've got to be there to cover that because they don't want to be the only station that didn't cover the public advocate. You know what I'm saying? So we need an office where somebody is elected by the people to be in charge of investigating these malfeasance, investigating these issues, of getting recommendations. We don't need another blue ribbon panel because this is what these boards will become. Blue ribbon panels that make all these recommendations report and nothing gets changes. That's got to stop. It's got to be boards with teeth. If you don't have subpoena power, indictment power, well, indictment power you can't get, but I mean, you don't have subpoena power, you don't have investigatory powers, you don't have discovery, you don't have powers to compel people to give you the information you want, they're going to hold everything back and give you the lies that they spewed to everybody else, and then what are you going to do? So we need teeth in these boards. And again, a board should not be constituted by the government. Because, let me tell you, it can be formulated that we need this, but to start putting people on it, by them putting people on it, it politicizes the whole process.
Right.
Because why is somebody put on there? Is it, like I said, is it patronage? Is it friendship? Is it, if it's not for the reasons that I'm running for? See, if we get initiative and I'm running to be on the board, then people will vet me. And then they'll know whether, well, we want Rome on there instead of this guy because I know what he'll do. That's how it should be done. Not my boss puts me on there. Now I'm going to do what he says do. Because it's my boss. What am I going to do? I think something's wrong, but I'm not going to say anything's wrong because if it gets back that I'm the one that said it was wrong, my boss can have me in the sling. So what are we playing here?
Right. Right.
It also comes back to vote your values, too. Like, I hate to keep saying it. It's the people that we put in to these positions where these conversations exist, and then it's people that are the majority in the situation who will go, well, I'm going to cast my vote for them anyways. You know, give them another shot. You know, they messed up the first 4 terms. What's another term? We got another 15.
You must be talking about Byron.
Got another 14 in us. And that's the thing, you know, and then we get vital tools taken away. I never lose sight of the fact we no longer have council at large seats.
Right.
Who is going to sit there and bully back if they're not doing the job? We took paid positions and removed them. Can anybody tell me where the council at large salaries went?
Well, they rolled it over to something. Yeah.
What do they get now? We're paying the Citizens Review Board throughout the whole pandemic to sit there and launch a couple emails back and forth, and what's that, about $190,000 some odd dollars every year we waste on individuals to be on a board. And what have they done that has spent substantial?
Well, what board is that? Because I don't get a penny. I need to be on that board.
The Citizens Review Commission.
The one they got now, they get paid?
That's the Citizens Review Commission has taken a salary for the past few years.
Okay, so you're talking about
they've been in existence for
supposed, you know, the council appointed police
not
advisory
the police
board.
advisory board.
No.
There is an actual. Maybe the name is fleeting me. Bear with me. The Citizens Review Commission, because when we broke. Maybe the name is slightly off. Now, I'll clarify that whenever you release this. But we paired the salary of that against running for the ballot initiative.
So I'm going to say we're releasing this when, you know, we're releasing it right now as we do this. So this is done. So I'm just going to say.
I'll be in a comment, honey. Commenting underneath there to clarify what I'm saying is what I'm saying to you.
Right.
But I'm saying that these numbers were broken down. And for the $190,000, it would have made excellent sense to have a full board of residents that we could have educated to do the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that's rung out crystal clear in everything that both of you have said is that we know there are problems there, and it's just of the nature of it, that back to that power, the power that people have, the impunity that people have, just breeds this kind of problem where there needs to be checks and balances, and that check and balance has to be a citizen advisory board with teeth, a citizen review board with teeth, and people who are actually experiencing the stories and who know and whose community, whose friends and family are experiencing the stories. So that's an important piece for us to have.
Can't say no more.
Yeah. So I there's a lot more work to do. There's a lot more conversation to be had. I would just suggest that people get in touch with either of you.
Yes.
And or with the Western New York Peace Center. We certainly want to help on this. It's so important. So I can't thank you enough, both of you, for all your sharing and for all your hard work, because it's so hard. But we'll get there. So this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love.
Amen.
No, so anyway, you could see that's why we needed to end it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
your timer.
Yeah, I thought you.